been a few days since the Nations League. We're not going to dwell too much on the result. We're not going to be critical. Had a chance to take a deep breath, survey the landscape, and today take a closer look at what I feel is ailing and what we can do to fix U.S. soccer with the World Cup on the horizon. We'll look at all of that here on the Soccer OG. I have a list. It's not too long. It's somewhat lengthy. And we'll see what you think. And I remind you to like and subscribe. Smash that like button. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. We're improving by leaps and bounds. Leave a comment. You know I love the discourse. If you leave a comment or a question there, I will respond and answer it. Appreciate it. It's a team effort. So everyone has given their 2 cents, including myself, about the issues U.S. soccer has. And we are on the clock. I've seen people discuss the bigger issues. Tab Ramos, I think, was on Sirius XM and saying it was the pay to play and the way we develop players. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm thinking about how we do this for the U.S. team with the World Cup in 440 days. How do we get this squad, this program, to perform when we host the World Cup in the summer of 2026? And then hopefully things fix themselves because we'll have more eyeballs, more financing, more checks and balances. So some are quick, some are big picture, small picture. This one's kind of big, and I want to mention it even though I don't know if it's going to be resolved by the World Cup. But it hit me like a fist when watching these Nation League games because we have so many players that we watch on a regular basis in Europe performing at a high level. I mean, we used to have 4 or 5 Americans playing in Europe, and then it was like 10 playing at small clubs. Now we have 100, and many of them are playing for the top clubs. For crying out loud, one has won a Champions League trophy and played in a final, playing at mythical clubs, producing. We've never seen this. And there is a missing gene, I think, with our national team. And in these games, we saw it across the board from our star players playing in Europe. And I'm not saying they're not trying, but they don't have that chromosome or gene that Argentines have, or the English or the French, where they play at the top clubs. And when the national team cup's calling, they raise it up a notch. These players, I think, have worked so hard to get to Europe, which is a challenge in itself because they're not from there. And the South American players, it's been embedded in them to play in Europe. So that system has been working. It's brand new for us. And I feel all the guys we have going over there have worked so hard to get to the European clubs that the national team duty has taken second fiddle. Not by design. It's just hard to ramp up for both of them when you've committed so much to this. We're still learning. This is a new phenomenon. We're still learning what is required to do it in both. I watched the Argentine national team, and that collection of players beat Brazil because when they got on the field, it meant more than anything. Whether it was Dibu Martinez or Julian Alvarez or Enzo Fernandez or Rodrigo de Paul, they turned it up. So many national teams do it, the successful ones. I think we still need to learn to do that. Can they do that by the middle of the World Cup? Maybe some of them can, but collectively, it is not a square peg in a square hole just yet. So that's a big one. A sidebar to that is the Euro versus MLS dilemma, and that also came to a head in the Nations League, where Diego Luna, an MLS player, was our best player, where Max Arfson, to me, gave one of the best efforts on the field. That Patrick Agyemang, an MLS player, was the only guy to score a goal. I think we need to, I am not saying that the European players or the MLS players are on the same level. The European players are far and away our best players. But if you're going to tell me Joe Scally is better than Max Arfson just because he plays in Europe, that's not going to cut it. Give me good reasons. Don't just tell me, oh, well, he plays in Europe, he's going to be better than this MLS player. It doesn't always fall into that place, and I think Diego Luna showed us that. Patrick Agyemang and Max Arfson to a lesser degree. Those 3 players are not Christian Pulisic or Gio Reyna or Serginho Dest or Anthony Robinson. But they cannot be excluded just because of the league that they play in. I think we'll be in a healthier environment if we all look at the players on a one-to-one basis. We look at him for what he has done, the play he can do, not just, oh, well, he's probably not as good as this guy because he plays in the Bundesliga. So I think we have to soften the edges too. And that's just for us. I mean, I don't think the coach, clearly Mauricio Pochettino's not being held up on the Euro versus MLS conversation. Some on the field. Well, this kind of applies to the MLS Euro players. We have a defensive issue. People are suggesting we play with 3 center backs because it's gotten so bad. And we used to make fun of certain defenders when they do a bad side pass. But now they're all getting beaten like a drum, whether it's a substandard effort from our best defenders that we see playing in Europe, whether it's Chris Richards or Cameron Carter-Vickers or Mark McKenzie. They've all had or a flaw. So, some people, I said we could bring Aaron Long. I know he's too old. We're not going to bring Aaron Long. But he's the kind of guy that runs through a wall. Is he technically gifted? No. But I think we need to get defenders back there, center backs, that will defend. They don't have to break lines with their passing. Defend, because I'd rather have 2 center backs that defend and not bring in a third and have to take out one of our talented midfielders or attackers. We're not playing with wing backs. There's no way. We've got to avoid that at all costs. So I understand why people are suggesting it, because our defending which was a strength around the 2022 World Cup, has become a major weakness. We still can't score goals either. The CONCACAF dilemma. CONCACAF, there's no doubt in my mind the U.S. will play better when they face Turkey and Switzerland in the summer on a neutral field in East Hartford and Nashville. Playing Panama over and over again, it's hard to get up. And you know what you're going to get at Panama, and Panama knows how to play you. And just playing CONCACAF in general has to be bogging down these players. And it's hard to get inspired. You want to look across the field and see Spain, Argentina. You want to play against the best. And I understand the players' malaise when they don't get that opportunity. Now, it's not going to change, but it will change in the World Cup. So I have hope that whatever the draw is going to be, we're not going to play Panama. We might play a team that's going to park the bus or defend or play a negative game to get under our skin because it works. But even if it is Uzbekistan or if it is whomever, it won't ring the same because it's a new opponent. And I think we've seen that from the U.S. We saw the World Cup when they played Iran. They went after these teams. CONCACAF is a problem. We all know that. But this U.S. team, I think, will improve by not having to line up against Panama. I don't want to see Panama again for a long time. All right? I would like to get some revenge, but I don't want to see them for a long time. And Mexico, Canada, less is more too. Let's play the teams that we're going to play in Europe. And we're not going to get that opportunity. We'll have some lead-up games. But I'm confident that when the World Cup rolls around, just say our group is Uruguay, Uzbekistan, and South Africa. Different styles. I like our chances because it's different. I think these players, going back to my first point, will get inspired by having something different as well. Because clearly they're getting fatigued. It's all mental. We know these players are good, but some of their deck has to be cleared, and that will help. The other thing is the support. So this is essential. The Nations League, nothing you could do about it. Mexican fans bought those tickets. It was a success for CONCACAF. But again, these players looking up at an empty stadium has to be demoralizing. It is essential that U.S. soccer, even if they have to give tickets away, pack that building in June in East Hartford at Rentschler Field and Geodis Park in Nashville for those games against Turkey and Switzerland. That will mark a year from the World Cup, so we get that excitement going and we get these players excited because we can't have them playing in an empty stadium. We have to show them we support them. And even though there was a good reason why there was no support at SoFi Stadium, and there will be when they play in SoFi Stadium at the World Cup, for the delicate nature these players are, we have got to show that we're behind them. That is on us. We can do that. That's the easiest fix on this list. The easiest fix. So let's do it. If you're in Hartford, or you in Nashville, or when USA play later in 2025, make sure you go to these games. Your country needs you. I was there at SoFi, me and 8 other people. So the other thing, and this is it, I think this is the last one, I don't want to drag on too much, is the injured players. This should be an easy fix, although I have a caveat. The U.S. would have done much better in the Nations League, potentially would have won it, if Ricardo Pepi, Flo Balogun, who I think are both reliable sources of goals. They have both proven it before they got injured. Certainly Pepi. Anthony Robinson, you look at how Panama scored. That doesn't happen if Anthony Robinson's on the field. Serginho Dest coming back. Johnny Cardoso. So many key players that if we were healthy, we wouldn't be here talking about the disaster of the Nations League. Now, that said, we're never healthy. Those guys could get healthy, and Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic and others could be injured ahead of the World Cup, knock on wood. That could be a quick fix. I mean, I don't want to run away from this about the injured players, but that was a tough one. I mean, Anthony Robinson, either Pepi or Balogun, 2 of those guys on the field, and Anthony Robinson's had a long record of being healthy, then this is much different. Haji Wright, another one coming back. So this was a tough window for injuries. So hoping that we can change our fortune for injuries and the right players come back, things will get better. So I'm ready to get back. I'm not here to beat up these guys. I know I was emotional after the Nations League and I might have beat them up, but those days are numbered. We got to lift these guys up. There are things on this list that we can do to help them. Let's stay positive. Let's spread the word. Let's get people excited for the World Cup. And of course, subscribe to the Soccer OG. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. We'll talk to you soon.